I remember for most of my career just being told to like take it down a notch. You don't need to put it all in there. But Mira's like, she's like, nah, bring it all. And so I felt really understood in my practice. I'm Mandy El-Sayegh, and I'm the artist behind Figure Field Grid. I'm an artist that works across multiple mediums, including painting, sound, installation, and performance. And they've all come together in the show. I work with lots of fragments and histories in a way to like produce new worlds or environments. You could also call it a collage practice. Someone else called me a hoarder, and I was like, that made sense. There's always a class element to it, because I think, you know, there's a distinction between collecting, which has more discernment, whereas with hoarding, it's compulsive. You don't know why you're doing it. I've done it since I was a kid. This kind of fear and this kind of precarity of existence. So if I have the thing, that thing can represent me in place of me. If I can make sense of the material, I can make sense of the experience. I can make sense of me. So it's trying to categorize experience, which is an impossible, ridiculous, but nonetheless important endeavor for me as an archivist. My dad speaks Arabic, my mum speaks Chinese and Malay, and we all had to do broken English with them. There's all eclecticness to that. Within an installation, those poolings will be like the sound element, which includes the environment of the street or the city that I'm working in. That gives it context. So this thing of like putting together from bits, that's collage as well. When you see things accumulate, degrade, you're confronted with your mortality and the fragility of it. So like you're trying to preserve, but actually you get its opposite. I think a good motif for that is the latex. It's a gnarly material. It's like, it comes out of trees as white sap and it dries a kind of bile-like yellowy brown, but it preserves things in it because you can suspend things in it. But at the same time, it's like dying depending on the environments in. So it has this dual quality of like congealing and holding, but it's also dying and falling apart. So it's again, it's about the impossibility of having any beauty without its terror. I had this really interesting conversation with the conservation team at Boijmans, and they're saying like, no, we want, because I was saying the difficulty of using latex, and it's like, no, that's the whole point, like conservate, that's the work. It's the first time I was hearing this kind of decay being embraced. I'm so fortunate to be able to access even like inner childlike states. Like who can say they can be allowed to do that when they need to go to their job? And what facilitates that is like my really incredible team who are also my friends. I've been able to be in bed for days, and I know they're holding their fort in the daytime, and then I can't wake up for the one thing that keeps me going, which is like the practice. I'm nocturnal. Whenever I see the sun come out, it's like, it's a sad, sad moment. I like the feeling of being alone, that I can go back to a place where I don't have to be. I have like a really regimented lifestyle in the studio. So it's like normally one day on and one day off. The off days are me recovering from the night before. I go into a fluid state. I dance before I start painting. You know, you go into a fluid state where you're not judging yourself. Salut. The spirits. It's strange because I'm producing stuff that's put in circulation, but I don't feel like a producer, like I'm producing stuff for a job. I have to go to a place where I feel alone in my kind of like internal imaginary world. I'm filtering through the day, through dreaming, through all those things, and then it could just come out at night without any production imperatives. There's a romance at night. Painting can range all the way from very figurative to very abstract, and making sculpture, which is very particular to me, which is somehow incorporating this hoarded matter into arrangements. I never have a peace in my mind. It's like, have you ever like gone to sleep and you have flashing images behind your eyes? And it's just like that, you're not controlling that. And then sometimes it's like, there's something, you know? It's just like a collision. It always starts with like a motif that will be running through the body that holds it together. So it starts with the shrapnel, or I call it the fragment, and out of that, it's kind of like the particle where the mold grows around. I had like a patron's visit from Boijmans, and I was given the book, which is like old master drawings. And then randomly opened on the page, and I was like, these are the colors that are going to be in the show. It's just like this kind of very verdigris kind of thing. And then we saw the study for Christ, which we're using downstairs. And like, this is literally the thing. This is the motif, because it's a torso, Christ torso, and a grid that the Renaissance painters had to kind of mark space. And I translated it to a screen with both of them together. And this is the type of overlay that my father's calligraphy has. So I thought, big red event. This feels like a really important show to me. To be invited to do this show feels like a real privilege, because it feels like a survey show. I just turned 40. And it's an assembling of all my works up to now, all the different bodies that come from different times. In a way, you have this terrifying abstraction, because all words mean everything, but at the same time, it's very literal. So the way I see it is like, it's so literal to me, but it can be perceived as abstract. This question, which is a political one, of like, who deserves abstraction, and abstraction being the highest, most rarefied form of the sublime poetry civilization. And why am I being coerced into telling my life story? I'm trying to do that in aesthetics, because it's a way to do it without speaking and having your words being used against you, which is literally what's happening now to Palestinians and anyone supporting the Palestinians, which is like, you know, fighting for a right to be seen as human. It's so dangerous. So if I can do it in a field that I'm allowed, which is an abstract field, which is a field of poetry, which is all those kind of less tangible things, it is a necessity and a privilege. I think this thing about confronting this too muchness of affect, because there's something too much about me and my work, and to have that be felt, bring it back to feeling and the experience of like this excess that can't be put into words, that being primary, and everything else can make sense afterwards. I don't think you choose to be an artist. I think it is from a place of urgency, actually. There was never an aspiration, because you just are an artist. You really have to live your life and know why you're making your work, and the work takes on its own life force. So for me, it's very particular. How I see it as a type of existence work, and that's what it's like a mental health thing, The only thing that could build me back up was through making, which is like making sense of reality and self in relation to that reality. Everything is framing. That's all that art is.